Good morning. Welcome to the daily webinar. For those of you in the group and those of you in the subscription group, these videos will be out for the entire week. So please share, like, comment. And for my YouTube viewers, if you like it, share it. You can make your comment. Let me know if you have questions you can ask. I'll try to answer them as I go along, right? I'm on the dollar index as we normally start, and I'll show you the bigger picture of the dollar index because this is a pretty much, I think you might have seen this forecast like a million times from me already, which is we've got to move, we've got a correction, we've got to move, we've got a correction, and we're making another impulse up. That's the big picture. It's not a straight line, right? It's wave analysis. So at some point you can expect that these things will start to make corrections in here and then go. It's not going to go in one line and break the top. And I think there at some point there is a correction due here that might happen anytime. It could be this week, next week. It's not a when it happened. You don't know that, right? You're always looking at the patterns. This same type of patterns you will see in a lower time frame. So eventually it's going to break the top. That's the forecast. Now the question I think one trader wrote me is how high the dollar should go before it turns. That's an unknown factor. And here is why it's unknown. For those of you who are not wave analysis traders, when this is finished, this could be simple one part of a much bigger correction. So this, although this is the correction right now, and it looks very corrective in comparison to the big wave coming down from the top. If you have the bigger picture, if you have the whole charts, right? It might just be a single part. Remember, if you're looking at the dollar index, I think there was a drop, there was a correction, there was a drop. This is the correction again. The most likely probability is it's going to drop again, right? So you will probably see when we break the top somewhere from here, you'll see a sharp drop. And then when we finish this piece that is coming down, it could be that it starts to go up or it continues the same thing, make a correction, drop again if it's in a channel, right? Those are possible patterns that exist. But there's also the chance of this thing breaking the top, making another one and continue to go. Well, not exactly the way I tried, but I think I should have put it like this, right? But I think you get the point. Now, it could also make a much bigger one here and then continue to go. What you would have is 1, 2, 3 eventually. So don't make assumptions. I think and this is the problem with the internet and all the gurus out there is that, okay, there's a war. Oh my God, dollar is going to collapse because the people are buying oil in rubles now and all of that, right? Look at the charts. It's telling you what it's likely going to do on the long term and on the short term. Now, you don't have to believe me that, hey, now because it's going up, you're saying it's going to go up. Watch it did when it was at the top here. Exactly at that point, I want you to go back to that video, find the date, find the videos I do. And I know one, you'll find a series of them. And look at the pattern that we draw. It's exactly the same thing. When we break that top, we will come and we will come back to the low. In the case of the dollar index, we don't have to break the low. In the case of the euro, I think we had to break the top. So the euro ended up being a contracting flat. This ended up being a running flat, right? So we go with the running flat wins, right? In this case. So this comes back to the low, and now we will go back up to break the top. And that was a forecast when we were at the top there. So when we come here, it will depend on how high this goes and how it goes to, and then we would look for turning points. But once we break that up, we start looking for turning points, which means every sell setup from above there will be very, very important. It doesn't mean we don't take sell setup now. If you're in the 4 hour and you think you're going to get a 4 hour correction, you might as well be selling it. We did take a few sell setups and we will continue to do that because we still have this one hanging over our head. We are not sure whether we'll put that with anything else. The only possible thing I can put that with is probably this one because we don't have anything for this as well, right? It's not the best running flat, but you can make an argument for that. So we would leave that as the last resort, which means if this goes break the top without giving us any of those deep corrections, we will take that as the running flat because those are two sharp waves. It would have been the running flat if this was slightly lower. I would totally agree with that. But because it's slightly shorter than this, I'm keeping that as an open mind to see what happens. So at the top here, we start to make some big flats. And that's a good sign when you see that because it means at some point, you're going to get a deeper correction, right? If you're starting, if the momentum is dying out, which means the buying and the selling orders are starting to look equal, except you're getting a little more buying than normal, right? I don't think this is the one that will go break the top. There's a good chance that we might see this turn, make a much deeper correction, and then start the upside, right? But take every trade you get. Again, we got buy setups here, we took the buy. You got a buy setup here, you took it. You got a buy setup here, you take it. Now that you break the top, you'll have to be a little caution because I think we might have divergence on the 1 hour. Let's see. You'll have to check that. We actually don't have between the last two, but we have from here. So it means that there's a possibility that we could get another correction and still get another up move. Let's wait and see. As for today, what's the trade for today? Well, on the dollar index, the trade for today was upside, but that's already finished. So if we break the top during the week, and if you follow me all week, you will get that. If it breaks the top and start to reverse, we might go for the sell. If it breaks the top and consolidate, we will take the buy, but with caution because each one of these are really short, which means the impulses are getting shorter and shorter. You have to be more cautious in the buy now. And you broke the top already. So that is a good sign. You have to be cautious. Silver, this one is just amazing. All you have to do is sell it and you did well. This was an easy one. It wasn't difficult. It's a no-brainer. And there's a good chance we can come and break the low. Right, there's a very good chance for that. But there's also a very good chance you could go make a new high. Right, this could just come somewhere here and then literally go make a new high there. Right, that would be part of a bigger corrective structure. Now, I don't think it's going to do that. I think we're literally going to drop to the bottom. But what I think and what we trade is different, right? What I think is me trying to use my expertise and my knowledge and all of this and trying to make a forecast based on that, saying, okay, I have a better feeling of it doing this than doing that, although both of those are options that exist, right? Most times, well, because of experience and knowledge, most times I'm correct about it with what I think, but still we follow the chart. So those were sell, this was sell, this was a sell setup. I think you could have got another sell setup here. If it makes a now that you've broken the low, we check for divergence. Do we have divergence between this and this? Yeah, I think we do have some divergence. And that's a caution point, right? We do have some divergence here and we have some internal divergence. That's a caution point. It doesn't necessarily mean anything at the moment because we're still going down. But if it turns, then it will mean something, right? So right now, every sell setup we get will take. If it turns, if you get a sudden move to the upside, we don't have a trade right now. The trade is gone. It's finished, right? Well, not it's finished, it's gone. Your entry point should have been here or here or here or here, right? These are gone. Those entries are gone. So at this point, you either wait for a correction to sell or you wait for a reversal to buy. Would we buy the reversal? Absolutely. In the break of that low, if we get a reversal, we'll buy. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a reversal. It could just be a deeper correction here and then drop. But we will still take the trade. And the worst case scenario is that it doesn't go up as high as we think it's going to go. And we either get break even or a small profit out of it. So if we get that, we will be trading it up. As of now, we don't know which direction it's going to go. If it makes a flag, we continue to go. So you follow me for the week and you'll see which side we take it. Gold dropping, right? So to my good friend who was trying to tell me that there's a war going on, I told him from the top here, when that thing starts to fall, I want you to come back and tell me what happened to the war. Well, the war is still going on. Gold is no longer a safe haven because that's the biggest crap you've been sold to in the internet, that something is a safe haven. Gold is a safe haven, silver is a safe haven, yen is a safe haven. And, they'll say they run to currency, the Swiss and the yen when they're going up or they're getting stronger. But, oh, well, everybody's going to the safe. What makes yen safe haven? Tell me, for the Christ's sake, what is in Japan? A little piece of island, right? And Russia is 1/6 of the world. Why is ruble not the safe haven? You're comparing 1/6 of the world to a little piece of island that has nothing. Literally, they don't have any resource. If you take the island, all the resource from the island is gone. Of course, they have some production, but those are factories. You can make them, you can break them, right? Factories, Russia can start building them if they want. So like China built a whole lot of them. So it's space, it's natural resources, things that are more, gas, oil, everything. Why is that not a safe haven? Because that's nonsense. They sell you the nonsense and you buy into the nonsense, right? That, oh my God, look, it's going up. It's going to be a safe haven. Where is the safe haven now? We told you one thing, it's in correction, and it's still in correction. That's it, because that's what's in the chart. The chart was telling you that this thing is making a corrective structure, and there's an unlikely probability of this correcting structure suddenly becoming an impulse. So it's still a correction, but here's a good thing that you've learned, is that it will go back higher. I can tell you right now that there's a very good chance we will come and break that up. not now, and not in the next couple of months, right? Maybe not even this year. Because the higher probability that could happen this year is we'll have to come back to the low first. We may or may not break the low, because you can make an argument of whether we tag the top there or not. So we would leave it open that it may or may not break the low. And it doesn't mean that this is the one that is going to come break the low. I expect this to come here and go right back up, break that top, then come back down here, and then go for the big move. See, if we look at patterns the way we see patterns developed in the past, this is how I think the most likely way it could develop at this moment. Now, there is a chance that it actually dropped to the bottom from here, that it does come down, make a few corrections and come here and then go back up. So you will say, but you told us it's going to go back up first and come. Well, that is if you looked at this as a possible contracting flat. I was looking at this over the weekend. I was thinking, because we had a contracting flat there earlier when we were looking at this as another contracting flat in here. So if you look at those as two possible contracting flats, then there is that probability that this is the move that will come and break the low before you go back up, right? So those are two scenarios of how you can look at the patterns, right? Because these patterns are real, they exist, right? So the problem is, which one are you looking at as the dominant one, the two contracting flats or a possible running flat in here, come back to this level, then go back up there and then come down. In terms of wave analysis, it's irrelevant which one you look at. Because if whichever of those two are the real patterns that the market is using right now, or those are the patterns that actually you should be looking at, it will have to prove at some point which one it is. And that means you go to the lower time frame and you follow it, right? If we get flags here, we keep selling until it comes to this level. This is where we'll be very cautious, because any reversal from here will start to buy. Now that might just be a correction and a drop, correction, drop. But once we see that this is starting to get more to the downside, or if at any point you make a very big correction here, that will confirm the downside first. And it leaves the upside unlikely. So we will go back to the two contracting flats and said, okay, great, we're going down to the bottom. Now let's see what happens. You trade in the lower time frame, which means you trade in the same waves, but on a much lower time frame. And since the market is fractal in nature, you will see the same pattern in the lower time frame, which makes it easy for you. You just need one impulse per day. So you need an impulse and a flag, and you're set for the day. You're going to get another impulse, right? That impulse would either be good enough to give you good profit. It might just break the top, reverse, and you try to get break even. You might end up with a very, very small loss. There's rare time when that thing comes back and take us out where we have the stop loss. And since the trade management is so good, it hardly happens, right? So this is how you look at wave analysis. You don't decide that, okay, it has to make an ABC or by double X, Y, and Z and whatever. You can put whatever alphabet you want. I've said this, how you label it is your personal thing, right? Follow the charts, what it's doing, not what you want it to do, but what it is doing. So if they're changing in structure, if you're seeing a change in structure from what the patterns you're looking at, go back and see, is there another pattern that you overlooked, or is there a pattern that you haven't seen, or you see, but you weren't paying attention to, right? You didn't think that was the pattern. So you go back and you said, okay, if it's doing this now, then what? Then what is your next move? Then what you should be doing, see? And don't get too emotional about it. So let's go. 1 hour, we're selling. And we're selling because I showed you this previously. If you remember, go back to the webinars previously and I'll show you where I think it will probably do exactly what they did here, right? Drop, make a small one, drop here, make divergence, go back up there and then drop. So drop, made this small one, drop, go back up there and then drop. See? That's how easy it is. You don't have to guess. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to make up things. You don't have to think about things. Go back in the past and see, was there a scenario whereby this is how the market behaved? If the market behaved like that, then it means that what the people who were trading it at that time were trading a certain way, right? They were looking for something the way they were trading. Now they're probably repeating that same thing. We're creatures of, we're repetitive creatures. We repeat what we do daily, right? You wake up every morning, you brush your teeth, you do whatever you have to do, you take your breakfast, you go to work. So it's the same thing. They're just behaving the same way now, and that is creating the same exact pattern. That's simple, right? You're human beings. And then you watch it drop. So you take advantage of that, Of course, you'll have to make sure that it is actually doing what you think you see, because sometimes the pattern you think you see in the past and you're expecting the same one to happen now doesn't happen, right? In that case, you'd have to relook and say, okay, there's no confirmation of what I thought was going to happen. Let's wait for this and see whether it's this pattern. If we get that confirmation, we take the trade. It's that simple. We were getting confirmation, we took the trade. It means any flag you get from here now, we haven't broken this low. Any flag you get, you sell. This means that because silver broke the low, but gold hasn't, they might both still go down. Silver might still go down somewhere. And we know dollar index could still go up. This one, we're only selling, it's going back up, which means at this point, we'll expect that there's some big pattern will happen here, some big correction. It's not new. I showed you that previously in this one, and they moved down that exactly the way it behaved. There was a deep pullback, see that deep pullback, waited to down, and then it started to make corrections. Let's see what happens in here. We will only look for sell opportunity, which means if there's a buy opportunity, we'll ignore it. If there's a sell opportunity, we'll take it, because if you don't want to miss the big move to the downside, it's not going to happen now because there are 2 sharp waves, that 3 sharp waves right now. That's all you have. Euro. Okay, it dropped. So go to the 1 hour. That was the sell. The euro, I didn't think this one was going to go so much to the top there. It actually broke this. So this leaves this piece as a bigger correction in the down move. This becomes, and this is where I am going too deep into the analysis. That shouldn't be. So we'll just leave it at that point. Yep. This is a much bigger correction and it's coming down. Now there's a good chance this might be the one that goes lower, or it could stop here and go back up, right? Making this whole thing a much bigger correction. I like this. See, when we thought that this was the 1, 2, 3, and this would probably, you know, like 1, 2, 3, this would go, or this one would just come here, go back up and then come. It did do that, but it took this one to make, you know, much more waves in it. I don't know what this is going to do at this point, if it's going to make a bigger correction and drop, but that, what we will do is every flag we get will sell. So you come back here and you can see the sell setups we had. This was a sell. This one here wasn't the sell, that was a sharp one. This was a sell setup here. And you probably get a flag, you'll go with the sell setup here. If we get another flag, we'll sell. If it breaks the low turn, we might be buying it, because if you stay in this bigger correction here and go back to the top, it will just be a bigger correction. That's all. Pound. I think we would have to go with the contracting flat, this one, because it dropped really low. So take this out, we'll have to go with and the contracting flats are always the problem. Which means at this point, if we get any correction, we're selling. Pound seems to be going down really fast, which means that we might get to this level. We might break this low again, and we would eventually get what we thought it is making, a running flat, right? So remember, go back and watch my long-term forecast on this, where we think that the possibility is this could work its way down all the way to the bottom, make a new low, and then go back up, right? Break the low. And after that, I'm pretty sure we'll go up, because there's a lot of divergence. You can see that the divergence that is going to happen here. We also have divergence here. So it's just going to be channeling this way down. You get this 1, 2, 3, you drop, you get a 1, 2, 3, you drop again here, right? And then with all the divergence in play, I don't think we'll make another correction here and drop again. I think there's a likely chance it will be going up. Not in a straight line, but it could go up. It could also make this another flat here and then drop again, which means we'll be in some kind of an ending diagonal structure if that happens, right? This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's going to be upside. This would be the bigger correction. It's rare. I haven't seen one of that for a long time. I think we have one in the Euro-Yen. What they call the ending diagonal structure, where you start to see those contraction of the impulse at the bottom. So is it going to do that? I don't know, but it means we can assume that this is going to come here. Every sell setup we get, we take. There will be deeper corrections, so you just have to be aware of that. It's coming down really sharp, so which means any flag you get, we can go for the sell. Right? Let's go. Aussie. Aussie is pretty easy. You should be selling. There were sell setups there. There were sell setups here as well. And every sell setup we get now will take until we break the low. Aussie will go back up, right? This will go back up. This is coming down, but it's coming down as a correction. And the correction might be pretty, it could take a long time in here, because this is if you look at this as the one down, this is a pretty big up move. So there's a very good chance that this down move will not be the final move going down. This might be something into a much more complex pattern like this. and then we go up. All of this will be a big correction. So we might be in this down move a very long time. This one is not trying to go down there. I don't think so, because we don't have anything for this in the past. Right? We're not looking at something that matches that and said there is nothing that matches that. Right? This was the down move, and I don't see anything that matches this. So there is a good chance that this one is probably just going to stay here for a while, and then we're going to go back up. That's it. Go back to the 1 hour, sell setups. Take the sells you have. Right? All the sells you can get. If you get a flag here, it probably will make a correction, a flag or a correction, and then you'll get sell setups. New Zealand, same here. Actually, there were more sell setups than that one. There was a sell here and there was a sell here as well. And if you, any other flag you get to sell, watch it when it breaks the slow. This one has a really, really nice pattern, which means I'm not expecting this to make much more corrections. Not that it will not make it, but I'm not expecting that. Again, I'm not expecting this to drop through and break the low. I think we're in a corrective structure, and we're likely, we could repeat this for a few more times and then go up if we think Aussie is going to be stuck there for a while. So we'll see. It doesn't matter how long this takes. You can trade it. As you can see, we're trading, right? And it's easy when you know what you're looking for. So that was there was a number of trades here, break even. There's a number of trades in here, and any correction now you get, take the trade. When it breaks this low, the line is irrelevant. For those of you who are watching the line, it doesn't have to stop at the line. It doesn't look, for example, here's a good thing. We broke the line here, right? See, we broke the line here. That didn't mean anything. What structure did it create after it break the line? That's what is important. So the line is just to give me personally an idea. Are we still within that pattern or not? Or is the pattern about to change? Right now, it's not changing anything. So even if you break the line, that is irrelevant. Right, you could take off the line. The point is it will go down, and then we'll start to look for upside. Upside could be a correction, or upside could be an impulse. So you do have some sells this week. I think we'll break that low. Swiss is a little weird because this move up is sharp, which, okay, let's assume that we're making this one up there. We could assume that this final one, well, it's not even from there. I don't think we'd look at this. We could do that. Yes, look at this is the correction, and this is the final one up. That could be. We'll have to relook at all the structures internally to see whether that fits first. But just generally looking at it, that could be possible. So if this starts to come back from here, that would make sense to me. And then go back up. Now, I don't have anything to match this. We might make an argument of whether this was a contracting flat, but that doesn't work because this here was too slow up. Right? So we'll just have to wait and see how this pattern develops. I don't see a contracting flat in here. If there is one, I can't see it. Good for me. I'm not very good at that then. If there's a contracting flat in here that I'm missing, and this is the one that takes off, well, I'm probably missing it. Right? I still think this might be a more complex pattern whereby we come back here, go back there, and then drop. More like this. That's the way I see it for now, but we'll see if that changes. At the top there, would we be taking any buys if we get it? Absolutely. But if we get a sell, we're not going to miss it. So let's go see what we have here. This turned out to be a contracting flat. You could go with that there. You could go with a running flat here if you want. That should be a possibility. Either of those would work for me. See on the 15 what it looks like. Yeah, the running flat looks like a better option. This one is going up. So if this is a running flat, we break that up, we'll look for downside. We'll start any sell setup we will take. If it is a contracting flat at this point, we don't break the top, we start a drop, you can put a sell setup here. So you can go with a sell here at this moment. This is how we would trade. I'll put a sell setup here. I'd look for a better sell from there. Once we break the top, this comes off. We wait for an impulse. We wait for a correction. We sell. See? CAD. CAD is a buy. I think we can buy CAD some more because we're expecting it to come to this top. And let's see. If it gives a flag at the top there, we'll buy. It's making a flag, so we can go for the trade. Makes a flag, you can put an entry above the top, go for the trade. If it makes a deeper correction, you look for a buy, but from a different point. Right? Well, once we get to that top, we'll be in this flag. Right? And like Swiss, I think it has to come back down. But this has more to go before it comes back down, which means Swiss might or might not go up more. We'll see. But this CAD, then if I have a buy on the Swiss and the CAD, I'll probably take the buy on the CAD. If I have a sell on the Swiss and the CAD, I'll sell the Swiss. It's that easy. Choose the one you think has the higher probability. But this one is upside. Can this come down? You would ask the question, well, what if this is actually a correction by itself here? And it actually makes a new low before it goes back up. Not necessarily, but possible. It is possible. This could have a 1, 2, 3 wave inside while this is a single wave, and we still go back up. All right, that is possible. We'll wait and see what happens there. Any buy setup that we'll take. Yen. Still looking for the sell, but it might just be a flat because this is definitely making a smaller correction here, which means we'll break this top, and we're probably coming back to this top. And once you get back to that top, it will come here, but then this becomes a flat for one more up. So this correction here will drop, but probably wouldn't be a big sell. So we'll see. Do we want to buy this at the top here? I think not a great idea unless you really think it's making a big running flat and it's going to continue to go higher before it comes. All right, which is always the question. Do you think it's a running flat? I don't know. You can't know that. You can only work with your instinct or work with your, you can take the risk if you think you can manage the risk. For my traders, I think you can manage the risk, right? It is a pretty big flat. So if they break, it's going to give you an impulse like this. You can, worst case, take break even. Right, because we looked at this as the flat, you got one here, you got one up, you get one here, you get one up, you get another one here. This could stay here for a while too, and then go back up like that. So if it comes lower, then this one might be worth taking to break that up. Very short term, and then look for this down and then that up. So we'll see which one it turns out. But right now it's a short-term buy setup, which is not a good idea. If you're not doing this very good, better leave it, let it go up, and then look for a sell. You're in New Zealand. Up, that's a buy. We broke the top finally. So now from this point, it has to tell us what we think the pattern is going to do, right? See these arrows? They were here all the time. So we were expecting this to break the low, but it didn't break the low. That really doesn't change the structure. Structurally, it could still be that they don't break the low because you can look at this as the flat and look at this as the flat. So now if we're right about that, this is going to drop. It has to come down. At some point, it has to stop and come down if we're right about that pattern. If we're wrong about it, then let's assume for a second this was a contracting flat and this was the low and we're literally going up, then this would probably drop like this. And at this point, it either has to correct for us to sell or it starts to reverse. If we get a reversal, we'll go to running flat here and we'll take that to the upside. And we will just go with this as the low and a contracting flat in here. So you're looking for two things now. You're looking for an impulse first, which you're definitely going to get. You must get it. All moves start with an impulse, whether it's going to go down or it's going to go up. The impulse will be for the running flat. If we get a trade at the top, we'll take it. Manage the trade so that if it starts to go back up, you're out of that trade and in this trade to the upside. So is it a running flat here for upside? Or is it a regular flat here for downside? Good question. Let's wait and see. We'll know. EURUSD. Okay, so again, we think that this eventually will have to come down. I don't think this one is coming down as yet. It could be. There's a lot of sharp waves in here for running flats. You can go with this. You can go with this one. So this could be coming down. If this is a running flat and we're going to get one more up, wait for it to break the top. Reverse, any sell setup will take the trade. I'm very convinced that this one looks like a running flat because there's a lot of corrections in this piece going now. I doubt this is the low of destruction. We're going up. Do we take the buy setups here? Let's go in the bigger picture, 4 hours, see what's happening. There is a sharp move to go up at some point. Not necessarily this one. If it is going to be this one, then we will probably buy the running flat. Let's see if we have it. Yep, if it turns out the running flat, we can buy it. So if we're making the low and going up, so this would be a buy. So we can put an entry for it, but any flag you get there, we will sell, assuming this is still the flat. So if it makes a flag, you sell. You can put an entry order there for the buy. It stays there. If it goes up, we stay with the trade. If it makes a flag here instead of going up, we look for the sell, take this off, look for the sell, assume this is the flat. We're going to make a new low, then go back up. EURUSD. Okay, so this one made it to the top. We'll have to go with this as a separate correction here. Let's see where we are in the bigger picture. So this is definitely not the single correction. It's too sharp. I don't see that as thing. So we're probably, I don't see anywhere else we put that. It's way too sharp to be the correction. This definitely is way too sharp to be a correction. Can we look at that by itself as a contracting, running flat, sharp one in there? I don't think so. I think we're still heading down. All right, we're still, sorry, going down. Let's put it this one, 1 hour. It might be a more complex flat. I'll probably go with a more complex structure. So if we start to see sell setup here, we'll take it. Any buy setup you have, you can take it with caution because this is very corrective. All right, this is much sharper. This is much sharper. All these are sharper waves. So at some point, we might even come back here as a 1, 2, 3 like this, probably similar to this, and then go back up there for a flat like that. We'll see. Any flag at the top, should we buy it? I think flag, no, if you get a correction, we can buy. Flag might not give you the break even. A small flag here might not give you a break even, but the deeper correction will give you a break even. Euro Swiss. It's making more correction and it's pretty much at the top. So the likelihood, take that out. The likelihood is it could make a flat at the top there before, a flat here, make a new high, then drop. We're still expecting this to come down because we have similar patterns here, right? Same sharp waves in there. And I don't think we're looking at this as a contracting flat. So there's a good chance that this breaks the top and come back. What if it actually is going to drop from this point? I think this big correction in here is my problem. Okay? There's a big flat in this one. If you put it like that, there's a big flat here, right? See this? So this is going to come down, but there's a chance we make another one up because this becomes a correction, just like this, right? So you'd get this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a triangular looking pattern, and then we'd look for the sell. Question, could this be a slow move to the downside? Well, if you want, take this, put it to break even, right? Take that trade, get it to break even. Because it should break this low if you're expanding. So you can go with that trade to break the low, put it to break even and see what happens from that point, right? If they break the low in reverse like this, then we will go with the triangular pattern. If it is not a triangular pattern, and this is just a slow impulse to the downside, starting very slow here. And this is going to drop. We'll probably stay with the trade. The key is once it gets here, you get it to break even. Euro yen. Okay, you need one more wave up and then we start selling. You need this to go back here. Complete this flat. And then we look for sell setups. If we get that, that would be perfect sell setups because you have a flat in the middle. You can make an argument for this one, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3 would be sell setups coming from the top there. Euro pound. Take this out. You're definitely not going to be selling it here. But you can look for sell setups on top. Would this be a change in structure going up more? No, I don't think so. I don't see the change. This was really slow here. You've got to have a real good correction here before we start. I mean, a bigger correction here before I think this is going any higher. But I don't see that higher because we have this flat here. And this move is coming. So that could still be a sharp pullback before they drop. We had that many times where they get this big flat in the middle. And then they pull back. In this case, this is just a sharp correction up. Okay, this was very, very corrective. Yeah. So I don't think we're going to make much bigger correction at that point. We're just going to drop. We're still in this one. And put it like this. So, yep. Get a correction here. Do I think we can end up with this? Like this did. Make another one here, drop, make a bigger one, drop. This should be a smaller one. This shouldn't be a big one. I don't think we'll repeat this and then come here. But it doesn't matter. If we get a sell setup, we go for this. We take that trade and see how far it drops. We're not reversing. Definitely not with all of this correction. A reversal would be different. Pound Swiss. Okay, turned out we were right about that flat. They take a flag, sell it to break the low. We get a flag here. Any flag here would be a sell setup to break the low. That's in the 1 hour. Yep. Actually, there were sell setups. You remember anybody who took that sell setup was they're doing well. If you took this one, you want to close it. I'll probably wait for a bigger one. These small ones don't work anymore. Wait for a bigger one and then go for that. The small ones are going to probably still make that correction deeper. So we get that deeper correction, go for a drop, break the low. You're still in this bigger structure. And it gets to that low, then we'll see what happens. Let's see the big picture. I don't know if this thing works its way that slow back to the low here. It's possible, but it's kind of unlikely because it's coming down really slow. At some point, it probably would pick up. Take the sell. What if they drop like that? Would we look at this as a possible running flat? I think we could do that. The bigger corrections are in here, right? So you could make an argument with whether that's a running flat or not. Let's see. Would you look at this as an expanding flat in here? Because this one is sharp. So you'd have to look at this as two expanding flats. It's not a triangular because this one is higher than this. So it's not an expanding triangle. It could be two expanding flats possible with 1, 2, 3. This one has just regular flats in it. This has one big flat in this. You can literally see that. And this is coming down with a series. If you put all of this in one, then we could end up making another one here and then drop. Let's see. That is a possibility, right? Knowing that yen looks like it's going to go down. So sell. The sell is not a bad idea. It's a very good idea. Get the sell set up, take it. Pound New Zealand. Okay, we're looking for a flag to sell. It didn't give us making a flat, so be careful. Should we take the sell from the top? If we get it. It's more of a flat now because it came back to that top. But yeah, we can take the sell. What's the range? 100 or something pips. You can take the trade. We'll take the trade and then we'll see how far it goes lower. What if it's just a deep pullback for a drop? Also possible, right? So we'll take the trade and then we'll see where that takes us. Big picture, what is the bigger pictures? Go to the daily. It has to at least break the low. I don't see, even if we're going to go back up, I think we have to at least break the low. So the only question is whether this goes higher. There is no need for that, but we'll see if it goes. So put it back on the 1 hour. If we get a trade set up, we'll take it and see what happens at that point, right? Pang Yen. Yep, the seller working good, right? So any other sell setup you get, you take it. This would have closed. If you put it there, you can put one here, but you probably want a bigger correction. You can put it there for now, but let's hope we get a bigger correction before it drops. Can we look at this as the end of the running flat? Could that be the end of the running flat? It's possible. So that sell, you have to be cautious. I'll probably wait for a bigger flat before we go to sell like that. So your worst case scenario will be you get break even, right? Have to be careful with this one. And we don't have a buy setup, it's a sell setup, but you have to be cautious because there's not a lot more downside before it turns. If that is a running flat, and we've been talking about that as a running flat from the very start, right? So it's very likely a running flat will break the low and go back up. In the worst case, it's going to drop. Punkad. Also, this looks like a bigger flat in the making here because we're going back up. This piece would make a bigger flat here. Would this be a sell for the downside? You can go with the sell because we can assume that this is the running flat here. That's a bigger running flat. Take the sell. Let's take the sell, see what happens. Right. Almost. It's going up where the top, we do have divergence. And we'll have to look at this to see two things. Are we trying to go back higher from the daily? We broke the low. So this one broke the low. Is it trying to go back higher? Are we trying to make a pattern whereby this comes back to the top here like this, right? Break the top, making this a flat to the bottom here within the structure. This is all correction, right? All of this is still going to be correction because the big move is coming from the top. And if you look at it from the weekly, the big move is coming from the top. So we're in a big correction. For those who are watching wave analysis, this is something you can practice on. You've got an impulse here, you've got an impulse here. This looks corrective to me. This is an impulse, but here's the problem. This one didn't drop to the bottom. That would have been a perfect setup for this to do this and then go up, right? That would be classical. You don't get them classical every time. And now you have a correction in here. Now that is where things come difficult. Now this could literally go back to the top there, right? Maybe like this, maybe stronger, and then actually drop, break the low. This would just be a correction as part of a bigger correction here. Then come back here and then go back up. Let's get the same pattern, only more complex. So, or this could be a three-wave structure. The next option is this is a three-wave structure where you get 1, 2, 3. This drops, break the low, and then go back up, and you get this. That is also possible. So if that is the case, what we do is we come to the lower time frame and we take all sell setups that we have. We're taking all of them from the top coming. Now, this point here, if you get a sell setup, we'll take it. We'll look at this as a 1, 2, 3 correction, and down it goes, right? So if we get a sell setup today, we'll take it. If we get a buy setup, we'll take it. Because this could still continue to go. We don't know how high it is going to go. We don't know what the pattern will eventually be before it drops, right? Since potentially it could still go make a new high because we broke the low. If you get a flag here, we'll buy. If we get a drop with a flag here, we'll sell. So now both directions possible. Just wait. It is 1, 2, 3, but that doesn't mean it stops there, right? So let's wait and see. We don't have any setup right now. Aussie Swiss. Okay, so this did what we wanted it to do. I'm going with this being the first flat. This is going to be the first corrective one. We need this up and we need this down. Remember when this was going up, what I said, very likely this would be the first flat. So we need this up, we need this down, and then we've got ourselves a really big correction here for upside. Go back and see where that would put this. Yeah, that would put this in a little mess because this is still pretty corrective. What's a bigger picture? Yeah, pretty much a deep mess, right? So if that happens, we go back up there, we come back here, we'll still have to break the top, right? But now you'll get this correction here and you'll get this correction here. So from there, we can literally come back down, right? Repeat one of this down here and then complete this flat. Does this have anything to do with this correction here? I don't think so. I think we're making such a complex pattern. Can this actually drop all the way to the bottom? What if this is the top? Right, let's go with it. The next option, take that off. And what if this is actually the top of this move, right? This move made this correction. That is the top of it. This is just a deep correction to the upside. And this one would be the one that come and break the low. If that possibility exists, we look at the daily and we said, well, what if it actually does that? What if it actually comes here, break this, not even break the low, just come to this level and go back up like that, then make the final drop? Would we look at this as a running flat and this is a 1, 2, 3 that comes down? See how patterns can be complex? Yeah, so it's easy. So you're saying to me that it's possible it can go up, it's possible it can come down. Then it's easy. If you know those two possibilities, you know what pattern you're looking for. Makes your life just easy. It corrects, you sell. And make an impulse and then make a flag, you buy. That's exactly what we're doing here when we're looking at these short, sharp waves and we're saying, well, you know, this looks like it's going to go up, but this might be the correction here. When it comes to the top, be careful because it could come back down. And if you get that sell and you sold it and you sold here and you sold it to break this low, you did well. Now, if it starts to go back, you will sell to come back to the top. You'll buy to come back to the top. If it makes a correction, we'll sell to go retest the low. All sells after that would be possible. Good trade setups, I should say. Okay, same here. The only thing here is that I didn't think this one was going to come so deep because I'm still looking for this. right? So I thought we'd probably get most likely a small one here. We test the top, then come down for this. So here's the question. Can we look at this as the running flat? And this goes up. If that's the case, then where do we have a contracting flat here? Could we look at this as a contracting flat? Also possible. So what do? If you get a reversal with a flag here, we buy. Since the Pong yen is a higher probability of going up, it means we might watch all the yen do that. All the yen pairs might eventually go back up, then come down. We'll see. I'm keeping it open to see that. If we get for me to sell it now, I have to have not a flag, but a correction. This thing has to make a really huge correction before I decide I'm going to sell it at this point. If not, I'm staying weird of the Aussie yen, sell some other yen, not this one, right? Because I don't think this is the top of the structure. Big picture, really. I still think there's a higher probability of this going back up here, making a new high, and then probably coming back down like this. We're having the same dilemma in this structure as we're getting in this structure. I don't think that's a contracting flat. So I think we will get this one to the downside, which means eventually this will come here, make a running flat like that, and then probably go back up. So let's wait and see. Go back to the 1 hour. I'll be focused more on getting the upside, but we'll see what happens, right? If we get the flag, we'll still sell it. Aussie CAD. This one also came much lower than expected. Take that out, that didn't go up. So if we're looking back at the structure, what do we see? Yeah, it still has to turn. It's just going to be an expanding flat. I don't see this keep going down anywhere because that will have to be the end of the structure, and that doesn't make sense. So I still think we could be looking for turns here. And if we get that turn, sorry, I'm looking for this one. We're looking for the upside. So any buy setup would be a trade. Go to the 1 hour, wait for the buy setup. What would be convincing the sell setup, which means what would convince me that this thing is still going down more and we could probably take a sell setup if I get a flat. If I get a flat here or a bigger correction like that, something like this, that would convince me there's one more impulse there. As of now, we're looking for the reversal. Well, let's see. You're going to be with me the whole week, so you're going to see how we do it, right? You're going to see whether we get the buy or the sell. Aussie, New Zealand. Okay, this also came much deeper. And I also think this is the same thing. This is going to be a running flat because this was very, very corrective. There's no option of what that is, right? Could it be you have a contracting flat and we're looking for this to make a running flat? I don't know. Let's see if we get a turning point here. We take the trade to the upside. I would not be selling this here, not as yet, right? So there's probably more to the upside. Let's go for the upside. New Zealand Swiss. This is a good sell, and it probably could go a little more. You just put it like this. So it could go, it just break the low, so there's still chance for some more downside. This could actually come all the way to this low. So any sell setup we get, we'll take it. We'll go with any sell setup in this, take this off. You don't want to bias on that. Any flag you get, we can come and break this low. New Zealand CAD. We're about to break the low already. So from this point, we'll see whether they go back up or how low they go, right? This could go lower. First, you wanted to break this low, and then we'll see how low this goes. The line is irrelevant again. Look for sell setups. These sales are over, take them out. New Zealand yen. So two ways you can look at this. One is this is a contracting flat. This is the top, we're totally going down, right? The other one is you take out the contracting flat. You assume that you have a regular flat in here, right? Not the best one, but that's a flat in there. And you can assume that this is going to go back up. Now, all the yen pairs have this pattern, right? A lot of them, remember this was going up. We said we have to get that sharp wave down. Now we have the sharp, we have it in the Pong yen, we have in the Swiss yen, we have it in New Zealand, sorry, another, I think it was the Euro yen. No, not the Euro, Aussie yen, sorry. And New Zealand yen. So I think at this point, we start looking for, if we get buy setups, we take it. If I'm going to sell here, it has to be not a flag, but a flat, a bigger correction. CAD yen. Yep, they all come back. Canadian could go a little more. See, all these sharp waves, go back and watch your webinar. We tell you these are very sharp waves. They will come back. It will become running flat and then upside. So this could drop a little more here, but then we're expecting that to go back up. Swiss yen. I think this was the only one that we didn't expect to go back up because we already had this piece here. So this could be the total downside. I don't see it dropping totally. It's really slow. But if it goes up one more, if this goes up one more here, we can sell that flat. We can sell that flat. Right? So if this goes up slightly back to the top, make the pattern we see, and then we complete that flat the way we think it should be, then that, and you get a sell setup, this should be the best sell setup. I still think we need to go up. I'm looking at this as a 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. So I think this one, whatever this is, let it finish the low, and then we have to go back here. We get this structure, and then we look for the sell setup. I don't think it's dropping already. It's way too early. So if it goes, it goes. You can't trade it. You wouldn't trade this at the bottom here with structure that looks a little incomplete like that. And the final one. It's a nice flag for a buy. So if you get another flag buy, would it come back down? Is there any reason for this to come back down? Not necessarily. Now it's gone. So it's totally gone. Right? You broke out, it's gone. You can take all of this out. What would be the big picture of this? Let's take that out too. Let's see what's the big picture weekly. Well, the big picture is making this move up. If we assume that this is a running flat, I think that was the assumption we had all along, that it's making a running flat here. Then this could totally go and, retest that top. So any buy setup you get would be okay. Take the flag. So, okay, guys, that's it. I think we've completed this. The second part will be out slowly, which later, sorry, I should say slowly. The second part will be out later. It will be probably next hour. So if you watch this and you would like to see the second part, which is a crypto, please share and you'll get that a little later. Right, so everybody take care, trade with care. I'll close the room. My traders, I'll see you in about 10 minutes. All right, we'll come back and we'll finish the second part. And before we do the second part, we'll also look at the trade setups. See all of you in 10 minutes. Bye.